Ain't waiting on me, cuz.
All right, Soren, we're going live. All right.
3, 2.
What a day. What a day. I was covering Mountain West Conference Football Media Day. Very exciting times. Very professional crew. Thanks, everybody. And then this Oklahoma, Texas stuff starts, and then I start thinking about my friends in the Midwest. It's deja vu. And Petro's getting texts from Kansas people. Oh, boy. Kansas, Mountain West.
What do you think?
AAC, or you just go straight to the MAC?
What do you think?
Well, I mean, as we found out last time, I think you're going to shout me down on this one, but it's a little scary when basketball's your thing and football ain't so hot. So, but let's start at the front end of the story. My God, this developed in like 10 hours, and there are lots of good sources who cover Texas, and some cover Oklahoma, and they're saying, hey, the announcement, or at least the request letters, are going to be received, that they're both going to try to leave to go to the SEC, Texas and Oklahoma.
Right. And I think now the question is,
you believe it?
Well, I mean, I think that the story, I think the thing that's important to note is, the story is that they reached out to, right? And then I think everyone is saying, well, if they reached out, then that means they're trying to get there. Or that means that's it. That's plan A, B, C, D. It's the only thing is you only reach out if where you're going is you're going to go there. And I would say I would back off on that. I would push back on that a little bit from the standpoint that I think you could just be exploring the possibilities, right? Get all of the options. I mean, I don't rule it out. I mean, I think it's clearly an option. You don't reach out to just go, hey, what do you guys think of the ACC? Right? I mean, you're reaching out because you have an interest there. That being said, I think, number one, they're 4 years away? We looked it up today. 4 years away from the end of their television agreement. I see a lot of crossfire on Twitter saying, well, they'll get out of that. They'll be in the SEC in a year. I mean, I think if they intend to leave, that's a distinct possibility that the league says, okay, well, let's get to where we're going, pay this penalty and get out. The SEC says we can't spend 4 years with you playing over there and knowing. I think that could happen. But I also think it could be just like, this is when TV deals, this is how it works. They're not negotiated over lunch. Okay, they're negotiated over months and sometimes years. And so there's a lot to unwrap here, and there's a lot to see where it's going. If Oklahoma's of the opinion like, hey, we're leaving you, Texas, and we're going if the Longhorn Network doesn't go away. We're carrying the freight. You guys haven't won anything. So we're on the way out. And Texas said, okay, well, let's see what we can do together. We're the two big boys in this league, so let's reach out. Let's see what's out there for all of us.
Zig!
It's good to see you, Zig.
Oh, Frank Andrews in the house.
So I think there are a lot of reasons to reach out to find your value. I mean, I won't be shocked if we find in the coming days Oklahoma and Texas reached out to the Big Ten. Oklahoma and Texas reached out to the ACC. I think they're out there saying, okay, what is the next step? A couple of things, though, do jump out to me. For the top 4 rated conferences, or the top 4 conference champions of the Power 5 get the automatic 1, 2, 3, 4 seats in the 12-team playoffs. And you're like, oh, okay, they're rewarding the ones that do the best, and they want to have 12 teams, so that's what makes it fit best. Unless your plan is that there's not going to be a 5th league. Right? Was that in the back? I mean, I think that points to, okay, the Big 12 is getting carved up. I'm of the opinion the Big 12, I've always said, I don't think the Big 12 is standing at some point. What is that point? I don't know. Right? But you just don't have the losses that they had. And I don't think the other leagues stop at 14.
So you think four 16 conferences?
Yeah, I mean, maybe the Pac-12 doesn't get there. Maybe the Pac-12 sits at 12. But I think once you go to 14, where the ACC and the Big Ten and the ACC's at 14 and a half, right, with Notre Dame playing basketball and whatnot. But and we did just go through Notre Dame getting a taste of conference life last year, right? And maybe they liked it.
Yeah.
And so this is words getting around that the ACC is looking around for who goes with Notre Dame. And so Texas and Oklahoma are gauging their value. I mean, I've always felt that the ones that would leave next would be OU and Kansas, and that they would ultimately land in the Big Ten.
Oh, boy. I don't like that as a Big Ten guy.
Why?
It's not a match, man. We're about the big markets now. There's an academic mission here. I mean, us Big Ten people, we're already having trouble with Nebraska. We want to get Nebraska the hell out. They're embarrassing. They suck at football now. They're the worst academic school in the conference. Scott Frost blows. Little Lincoln, get out.
All right, they were in the AAC or AAU accredited university until 2 years in, and it's because of one technicality that they don't qualify. Listen, whatever. I mean, come on, seriously. The bottom line is this.
The Big Ten have interest in adding 2 more. Yeah, I'm not sure who they would add, but yeah.
I mean, I think.
But I don't see I think Oklahoma will hitch its wagon to Texas. And what's the advantage of going to the Big Ten over the SEC? The Big Ten has a slightly bigger deal in terms of TV monies.
Well, what's the advantage? The advantage is, I think, academically better conference. I mean, if academics do mean anything, then you'd rather be in the Big Ten than the SEC.
I'll ask you: do they at Kansas and do they at Oklahoma?
Yes.
Both?
Yeah.
Oh, really? I figured you say Kansas yes and Oklahoma not so much.
Oklahoma's a good school. Oklahoma's a better school than people think. They think because it's a football school, it's not good. It's a better school than people think.
All right.
And so I think it matters, and I think the presidents are the one that will ultimately make the decision. They're the ones that have the power to make the decision. Now they'll be strongly influenced by the money guys, and the money guys like their sports. So it's a very complicated thing. But I think this is something that we're going to be talking about for a while. I don't think it's something that 2 weeks from now they're announcing their departure. I'd be shocked that if all the things that need to get done have gotten done behind closed doors with nobody knowing. But I think this is the feeling out process, and I think it's at least shopping around for what is the best deal that the 2 power brokers of the Big 12 can get. What can they do as best when clearly the television contract negotiations have begun? I think the 12-team playoff, they're talking about, okay, hey, maybe we can get this, in here quicker. And with the 12-team playoff, do we need to open up? I think probably ESPN is wanting to get all of the conferences in line to make sure that they've got all the conferences, that they've got the playoffs the way they own the bowl games. And so I think there's maybe a feeling that, all right, with the playoffs, we also have to get all of our conference deals done. So now everybody's saying, okay, what can we do? And the league that is always, until somebody defects, until Arizona and Arizona State or Arkansas or somebody defects to the Big 12 and strengthens its numbers and gets it up to an equal number. And even then, I mean, first of all, I don't think either one of those things are going to happen. But even then, the Big 12, Texas and OU are going to have their head on a swivel, and they're always going to have quarters, and they're always going to be able to look around, and they're always going to do what's best for them. And I think this is that process. Now, does it end up with a lot of noise, and then they sign a new deal with the new television deal with the Big 12, and they get more money than the rest of the members do? Maybe. Do they decide, hey, this is still a better place to go? Now, you've seen everything that's on there. Oh, Texas can't win the Big 12. Why do they want to go get their nose bloodied in the SEC? I mean, that's a fair point today. But, they land there Nick Saban, and they're back. They'll be stomping guts again. There's too much money there. Anyway, I mean, enjoy Texas being down if you're anti-Texas, because it's not going to last forever.
I have no worries about Texas going to the SEC. They'll be fine in terms of competing.
How would you divvy it up? Texas and OU are clearly going to play in the West. Does Missouri get into the West?
I mean, the first thing I think that's going to be interesting is the schools can't vote against it.
And A&M and Missouri are already reportedly clearly going to vote no.
I think Vandy voted against the expansion the last time around, so I think they need 4 schools. So you could have Vandy, Mizzou, and A&M, and then who else if there's someone else blocking it? And then I don't even know what does that even mean in the end?
Well, I mean, can you imagine divisions that have Texas, Oklahoma, Alabama, LSU?
Yeah, right. Well, they'd have to realign where the East. I mean, because I don't believe it's cyclical. I mean, I think the East is what it is.
What do you mean?
Well, I already think it's saddled. It's saddled by Kentucky and Vanderbilt. I don't give a shit what Kentucky does, and it's in blips here and there.
I disagree.
And I'm not so sure that South Carolina is going to get to a point where they can win 9 or 10 games.
I disagree. I think it's about. I think because I think it's. Listen, I think all those schools that you mentioned, Vanderbilt can't win. I mean, they should punt Vanderbilt if they want to maximize who they are. Punt Vanderbilt. Right, but they don't do that. Like, I will agree with you. Vanderbilt cannot win, cannot consistently win. The best case scenario for Vanderbilt is to win 4 to 8 games on a regular basis. That's it. It can't. But Kentucky, 60,000 plus, a populated state. They care about football. Yes, they're really good at basketball. They can win. Kentucky's can win more so than Kansas football can, and I believe Kansas football can win.
Eventually. Yeah, just get the right guy. Maybe they have the right guy this time.
Yeah, I mean, look, all those schools can be Kirk Ferentz in Iowa, except Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes down to getting the right coach.
I think there are limitations in certain places where there's no players. Not as many players to recruit from, and I think those days are ending for some of those schools where it's going to be really, really tough.
I would disagree because I think the players will play for the league. If you're in the league, Texas players will play for any school in a league that has Texas teams.
Interesting.
I think there are plenty of players. Now, I do think this. I don't think everybody can be up.
What does that mean?
Well, I mean, like, listen, when K-State is winning the Big 12, Oklahoma or Texas is down. You can't have Oklahoma and Texas flexing their muscle. One or both are down. Right. And then K-State steps in. It's the same thing. When Iowa steps in and wins the Big 10, then Michigan or Ohio State are off, and that's how you get in there. And, the question for Nebraska is it going to be that way with Nebraska as well? Are they going to become a school that can only win when other schools are down? But I listen, I've always thought that the Big Ten would wise up and make the play for Kansas and OU. Texas and Oklahoma, when everyone's like, well, why would anybody want Kansas? They don't have a football program. Because who does? After Texas and Oklahoma, what football program are you attracting? And to your point about big markets, what big markets are available? Right? Literally the biggest market on the table is Kansas City, which always ranks. And, we were talking about this today with Sam McDowell from the Star. He was quoting Blair Kirchhoff. All the major college sporting events, Kansas City ranks in the top 5 as far as ratings go for every major college sporting event.
Houston, Orlando,
what
Tampa.
Schools? Houston is not available. Houston's biggest school is Texas A&M by far. It is not available. The University of Houston does not move the needle. TCU does not move the needle in Dallas. Texas A&M move the needle. There are more in Dallas and Houston. There are more Texas Tech fans than there are Houston or TCU fans or SMU.
I don't know if I'm buying it.
Well, I'm going to then call Dallas because I've had these conversations with people in Dallas. I've had these conversations with people in Houston. Houston does better in Houston. The University of Houston does better in Houston than does TCU in the Metroplex. But Houston has a top 10 team that doesn't sell out their basketball games. So don't tell me the populations. They don't sell out their football games. They're not Houston crazy. People in Houston went to Texas and Texas A&M. And so if there's a school for Houston, it's Texas A&M. And I'm not going to tell you that there isn't a television market bigger than Kansas City that doesn't, somewhere out there. But if you have Kansas, you have Kansas City. And it's while it's only market 32, there's also the surrounding areas. It is a regional brand. And I've said this before, like, you land in Atlanta and walk through an airport, are you going to see a Texas Tech logo or a Kansas Jayhawk logo? And for people who don't know, I didn't go to Kansas. I went to Syracuse. But I'm just telling you, this is what I see. Right. It is the biggest brand after Texas and Oklahoma are off the board. They're the 2 biggest prizes out there for football. Then after that, the only thing that brings a brand and a name, they've had for quite a while a well over $100 million athletic budget, and that's what their football program's stinking. And if the plan is to ultimately break away and break away from the NCAA, which a lot of people think it is, the purpose of that would be to start your own basketball tournament. And the only reason basketball doesn't make money is because the money it makes goes to the NCAA. In reality, the NCAA basketball tournament makes significantly more than any of the conference football television contracts. So in reality, as far as dollars grossed, there are many people that tell me basketball makes more. It just all goes to the NCAA. If you break away from the NCAA, basketball becomes a very important part of the equation. And I think most people feel that the Power Fives are eyeing a breakaway from the NCAA.
What's the background on the Big Ten and its unwillingness to make a run at Notre Dame?
They made a run at Notre Dame, and Notre Dame said no.
Why would you let Notre Dame go to the ACC? I mean, because you would start with Notre Dame, and then if you want to choose Kansas or Oklahoma, you could do that. But your first target has to be Notre Dame.
A large percentage of Notre Dame's alumni are in the Northeast, and they want a more Eastern conference as opposed to a Great Lakes conference.
We have an Eastern conference. You got Penn State, Rutgers, and Maryland over there now.
I'm just telling you what I've been told.
Yeah.
Take it up with Notre Dame. I'm not going to sit here and take shit for it.
I mean, I know there's a it's been an ego thing going back forever.
Notre Dame flirted around, and the Big Ten offered Notre Dame about 10, 15 years ago. I don't know where it's been. And Notre Dame said no. And I think the Big Ten said, all right, screw you. We ain't never offered again.
Never coming back again.
I mean, it seems.
But they, I don't know. Yeah, like I said, there's so many egos involved. So I guess Big Ten doesn't want to come to Notre Dame with like hat in hand.
I asked their basketball coach, Mike Bray.
Yeah.
Right. Before this ACC thing happened, I said, Notre Dame in a conference, will it ever be in a conference? And he said, I think when we look around, we see a lot of similarities between us and the ACC.
Huh.
He actually said a conference in the Southeast. I said, well, I know you're not talking about the SEC.
Right.
He said, no, I'm not.
So they see similarities. They see similarities with Florida State and Miami.
I think they see similarities with the academics of North Carolina. They see similarities with Duke, certainly.
Probably Virginia.
I mean, those schools, I think that's what they see. They definitely don't look at 60 some odd thousand students at Michigan and Ohio State and say that's us. That's not. Notre Dame is much smaller. Syracuse looks more like Notre Dame.
So back to the beginning of this, the rumor is Texas, Oklahoma, possibly to the SEC. There are different reports out there saying, hey, they're going to give a letter to the Big 12 and say, we're out. We're out at the end of the TV deal in 2025.
I was to say that they're not going to agree. The reports, if we're to quote them directly, I believe was, we're not going to agree.
Jason Whitley, early next week, Texas and Oklahoma will send a letter to the Big 12 Conference stating that neither school
will renew their media contracts when they expire in 25.
Yeah.
Which means that, we want to talk about the TV deal. It's a big stick and a threat. I'm not saying it means that it doesn't mean they're leaving.
Yeah.
I'm just saying let's quote it accurately. Let's not take the next step. That step may be taken, and that may indeed be the case of what happens, but it hasn't happened yet.
Is there more the Big 12 will do for them? What do they want? Special deals?
I think, based on what I hear from the fans, they will drop trowel like it's nobody's business to try to stay in what is perceived as a Power 5 league.
Right.
And I'm a believer that there are a number of the schools, I won't necessarily mention them, that would probably be healthier and better if they were in a league like the Mountain West. I'll also state that I feel like the Big 12, a long time ago, before all of this started, I was in favor of going out and occupying the Mountain West, the Mountain Time Zone. To me, pick out what you think the best schools are in the Mountain Time. People are like, well, what does Oklahoma get from playing Colorado State? I'm like, well, not Colorado State. I pushed for Utah for a long time. I said Colorado's out there. They flirted around with the Pac-12. There's a standing offer There was back in the day, even in 1994, there was a standing offer from the Pac-12 to Colorado and Texas to join whenever they wanted. And I said, Colorado is a threat to leave. I talked about this a number of times over the years. I said, I would get them some travel partners, get them some games that are closer. And you're not going to get into the East. When Louisville was available, that was the school I said they should be grabbing if they're going to go East. But I don't ever think they should go East. I don't think there's any viable schools. I said, go. The Mountain Time Zone is growing population-wise, so I would go grab the best schools in the Mountain Time Zone.
So you don't think the Big 12 with Central Florida, Cincy, SMU, and Houston, that's not a good fix?
No.
Why not?
Because those schools don't move the needles in the regions you're talking about.
So who moves the needle in the
No
Mountain
one.
West?
There's nobody who moves the needle that's not in a Power 5 school right now, or they'd already be there.
Right. Boise, but the market's small, and again, they might not.
Boise does not move the needle.
All right.
Boise carries swag, but they don't move ratings. And so, to me, you're better off in looking. You would have been better off in looking over the horizon. Utah should have been grabbed. Everybody, or BYU, because it is a brand.
Yeah.
That absolutely should have been grabbed. I would look at grabbing, New Mexico. The warmer climates are where population's going, and it may not. Listen, Denver's exploding. Eventually, one day, it will be other Southwest areas. There's this hoity-toity, we're better than UNLV, right? But, I don't know if you don't run out of water. One day UNLV may be like, we don't need these other places. With Las Vegas grows at the rate that it's been growing over the last 20 years. 20 years from now, Las Vegas may be, market 14. And then everyone's going to say, oh, we want UNLV.
Everything else in sports is coming here.
That is a bit of a problem, too, because then I think the school can get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah. It could. If there's four pro sports here, major league sports.
I think there are plenty of good schools. The problem is, like Cincinnati's a good program, and they're winning right now. So it's like, you got to get Cincinnati. But they've also sucked.
Right. Is it just Luke Fickell and –
yeah, and they play. They're second fiddle to the Bengals, and so it's never it's part of the reason why OU has become the team it's become over the last 100 years is that Norman, Oklahoma is basically Oklahoma City for people who don't know, and they're the professional team for Oklahoma City. Well, that's not the biggest market, no, but it's a big population base, and they that's what drove their success was. And Kansas's basketball success is also driven by the fact that they're, from my house to the Allen Fieldhouse is 40 minutes. If you're on the southwest side of town, south side or west side of town.
So the answer to this question is you think it's a better chance the Big 12 splinters and goes all over the place, or it recovers and tries to, add so that it gets to 16, it can remain a Power 5 conference?
The WAC is still around, right, Steve?
Yeah.
Right? Remember what it was one time? Yeah. The league, the name may be there because it may be that the Big 12 name stays there and they poach. How many are in the Mountain West right now?
11 and 12. So it's 11 for hoops and 12 for football. Hawaii's not in basketball. Oh, and then beyond that, the Olympic sports, I have no idea. The schools are all over the place. It's crazy.
Okay, so I'm just bringing up the standings so I can look at what it is. So at the so OU and Texas leave, and let's say Kansas goes to the Big 10, right? Does Oklahoma State, Texas Tech go to the Pac-12 along with two other additions? Maybe those other additions are K-State.
There's lots of schools in the if the Pac-12 is going to expand, there's schools in the Mountain West who would like to leave to go to the Pac-12.
And which ones do you think would bring more cachet and more ratings football-wise than, say, Baylor, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, and K-State?
I would I would grab San Diego State over K-State. It's in the region, and San Diego State football can be pretty big because now that the Chargers are gone, San Diego State has got the commitment from San Diego to build a new stadium. Now it's about 35,000, but it's going to be
which is the same thing Baylor's got.
The Mission, it's the Mission Valley site, and they get good coverage locally. I mean, it's them and the Padres, so I would think that would be more attractive to the Pac-12.
Okay,
and I don't know enough about Texas Tech. I don't know.
I think
Lubbock is awfully small and awfully remote.
I think the Pac-12 would grab their 4 schools. I think the Big Ten would grab 1. I think West Virginia would be a candidate to end up in the ACC or possibly the Big Ten.
Goddamn, right? I forgot West Virginia.
So I think those schools, and does Notre Dame land in either the ACC? If Notre Dame goes to the ACC, they need 1. The Big Ten needs 2. So you can divvy up those schools. The Pac-12 needs 4. And then I think the best of what's left is the Big 12 or Mountain West, whatever you want to call it. But it's the leftover schools. And maybe somebody's grabbed from the AAC. Maybe it is, they get back and you're looking at, TCU, Houston, SMU, Rice. I don't know if they want to get all the Southwest Conference schools together down there. I don't even know. Is Rice even in the AAC? They're not. Where the hell is Rice?
Goddamn, I don't even know.
Remember when they were in the Southwest Conference?
Yep.
So maybe you end up with, the Cincinnati, Tulsa, Memphis, Central Florida, SMU, Houston, maybe TCU. Maybe that's where they go. But, I mean, it'll be those 2 fighting for the scraps. Or does the Mountain West and the AAC merge into its own 20-team league with an East and a West?
It's a possibility too. I don't know, man. Like I said, I don't exactly trust in the Mountain West leadership, so I could see the Mountain West being the one that winds up incredibly splintered, and then a couple of schools are just like, wait, what just happened?
Bring up MU Phil's comment there.
Is it Oak State tied to OU as far as state politics is concerned? Will Oklahoma Congress approve an OU move?
That is a real thing because we've gone through this, and yes, it's a law or whatever it is in Oklahoma that wherever Oklahoma goes, Oklahoma State has to go. Right? That is a thing. And Dennis Dodd of CBS put that out today in one of his tweets when we were on the air that, like, well, this all sounds good, but wherever Oklahoma goes, Oklahoma State's got to go as well. So there is a big political part of that equation.
Wow. How come that's not the case in Kansas?
And then put up Jayhawk. According to the Athletic, that is not any longer. So that's the debate that's out there.
We better get our Oklahoma people on tomorrow, our contacts on our show.
I've always felt like that was always talked about back in the day, and I always said, listen, if Oklahoma really wants to go, they're going to go.
Right.
They will carry the swag and get it done. I mean, Oklahoma State is definitively little brother to Oklahoma.
This is fascinating. Fascinating. So what on Kansas, you think better shot they're in the mix and they're not having to sell their wares to freaking some smaller conference? Like they're in the mix to be a Power 5, to stay in Power 5?
I believe that after the quality football programs are out, and listen, I think every program is just a great coach away from being much better. Right? I think Lance Leipold will make this program better. He's already attracted a bunch of guys from Buffalo, which, from Buffalo. Yeah, it was the top team in the MAC, and that's better than what Kansas had. And I think he will turn that program into a respectable program, maybe more, but at least a respectable program. They'll have to hire another good guy after him because he's not young, right? He's not 34. He's in his 50s. But, 10 good years, and then it gets easier to hire a better coach the next time. And they'll get funding. They've got, a lot of billionaires that are in their alumni base, but they're tired of giving money to a program that sucks. So if they win, you awaken a lot of money that can get behind building facilities and doing all those kind of things. And I'm going to tell you, this will scare them into giving money to build whatever facilities they need to build to stay up to speed with the leagues. And I do think that their basketball brand, once all the football schools are off the board, the basketball brand is what you want next. You carry more basketball games on the SEC network and the Big Ten network than you do football games, by far. And you need ratings on those things, and Kansas would bring those ratings to those leagues. And I think the other thing is that on down the road, the idea is to break away from the NCAA and get control of your basketball money. They did it in football. No one ever thinks of that as a big issue. Yet it was Oklahoma, and I forget who the other school was, that sued back in the 80s that the NCAA could not control their football money, and they won. And this time they won't sue. They'll just say, we're out and we'll do our own tournament. And if you do that, that's billions of dollars. That is actually the big power play. So if you're going to have a basketball tournament, you want Kansas.
Okay. I'm in.
Also, does it seem strange that Connecticut spent all this money to create a football program, build it up, get into a league, and then backed out of a league and said we're going to a basketball-only league, leaving their football program hanging? Yep. Like, don't you think somebody was looking at the writing on the wall and saying,
"Oh, you think that they believe they still had a chance via basketball?"
Yeah, I mean, they either think
the eggs in that basket.
They either think that they're going to be an attractive spot for a Big Ten to keep, solidifying its hold on the East, or, which I know Connecticut, I've heard Jim Calhoun, talk many times, and he's always said the Big Ten is a better fit for Connecticut than the ACC. And so whether it was to just position themselves to be available for the Big Ten, or it's because they know that there's real money to be made in basketball, and that's going to get them the invite. The basketball schools, everyone thinks basketball doesn't matter. It doesn't matter first. But when there's no more football to be had, then it matters.
This is a big topic in your area, right? This is going to be massive for you guys.
When the conference realignments of losing, what was it? First they lost Colorado and Nebraska, right? Yep. And then it was Missouri and A&M, were by far the biggest topics I've ever discussed in sports talk radio.
That's so awesome.
I mean, day after day, week after week.
And now the narrative, like you just said, because the last time around it felt like basketball didn't matter and the Kansas might be effed. And, now that's going to, obviously, people are going to be scared, worried about the future. What's going to happen here? We're going to have 5 16-team conferences, 4 16-team conferences. Is it going to be 64? Is it going to be 80? Who's left? All these schools in the group of 5 putting money into football, and then they get out of it. They could be left on the outside.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, listen, I don't care where multimillionaires and billionaires give their money, but Missouri has spent tens of millions of dollars to try to upgrade their facilities. Mm-hmm. They haven't won yet, right? They did early on get to the conference championship game twice, got destroyed in one of them, played fairly good for a while in one against Auburn, but got wrecked in another one. Is that really better? Which football program do you think of higher, Missouri or Boise?
Who do I think has better chance long term? Missouri.
Who's a better football program?
I mean, it's I guess Boise, but the conference is nowhere near the SEC. So
you're right, but yet that's my point. Is like Gary Patterson was a genius and could do no wrong when he was winning 10 or 11 games every year. And TCU was this great program. And I said this, and everyone's like, oh, the Big 12 got better. They got TCU over A&M. TCU's been way better than A&M. I'm like, you're shitting me, right? I go, going around and upsetting one Power 5 school in a league in your season opener at a neutral site, then running roughshod over a lesser league, and then beating a team in a bowl game that doesn't want to be in the bowl game that they're in is a lot harder than playing a league schedule against a power league. And just go look at how Gary Patterson is a 7-5 and a 5-7 and an 8-4 and then a 10-2, but then a 6-6. TCU is not what they were. They were playing in the Rose Bowl as a member of the Mountain West.
Yeah.
And the returns have been diminishing ever since they moved to the Big 12. I actually think schools like K-State, I've said this, K-State people get pissed because they don't want any part of hearing it, but I think K-State could go in and be cock of the walk of a Mountain West Conference. And be going 11-1 and being the team that's going into the, getting the bid into the playoffs every year, and I think they can become that dominant team of the non-Power Fives. I think Baylor could be that team as well. I mean, I think whoever drops down has got a chance to be really good in a league like that.
By the way, side note on the comment here by Nathan, I talked to Darren Waller today on our show, and I did mention some recent comments by Travis Kelce, the compliments he had for him. Has this really become a topic that you guys have been effing up Kelce's name forever?
I have not. Maybe others have. I don't really care.
Have you been calling? Oh, okay. You haven't been talking about it, but are you going to?
Well, I mean, I joked about it. Listen, nobody gets my name. I go on radio. There are stations I've been going on for more than a decade that have called me Soren every time I've gone on, and I don't give a shit. So I understand where he's like, I'm not going to bother. I don't care. Like the people that are like, it's actually pronounced, whatever. That's not me. So I think Travis Kelce just has the same mindset as I do. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. Whatever,
I like this comment from Joe Jayhawk because this hit me on our show in Vegas, where he says the Royals just lost their last exposure on talk radio, conference organization, and the Chiefs in February. Like
he's right.
Locally here, I'm like baseball had like 2 weeks. You guys didn't take advantage of it, and the NBA's got even the NBA. I mean, I don't know. You guys are so busy there with other stuff. Like the NBA, because they were forced to move the finals back. I think part of the fact that I honestly, we didn't talk about the finals this week much.
Really?
Because football's here. Like, God damn it, there was a football story every day. Something broke yesterday, and I was like, I find this more interesting. I think the general audience is bigger. Dude, I'm telling you, man.
What football story?
I don't know. So I'm trying to think of what came down.
Aaron Rodgers turned down a 2-year deal, or
I don't think it was and it wasn't
local, like a Raiders thing.
Well, I mean, there's been some Raiders story. Like basically every national story that previews the season, the Raiders are last in this, second to last in this.
Right.
There was something yesterday that caught me, and I'm like, I don't know, NBA, But the NBA does have its offseason coming up. They'll get a good week out of that. They got the draft. So they'll get like 2 more weeks, and then they're going to get swallowed up by football.
I will tell you, their offseason, their free agency is fantastic. Although this isn't a huge class, but they actually have real movement. And I will tell you that I think the NBA should start on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Right? And roll to this point. I think basketball and football should shake hands and go, baseball's dying. Let's kill it off.
Crush them.
And let's go, you start as we're coming down the stretch, and then you take over right up till we go to training camp. And I think having the NBA Finals at this time was fantastic. For my schedule, and I think if it happened for everybody else, you would get in the rhythm of NBA playoffs and the big games, and that's done. And now we get a little break while we do preseason football and camp and everything, and then it's right into football. But, I mean, I would, they basically try to stay out of the way of where the All-Star game and all that. To me, the NBA Finals, which, by the way, was way up. I know last year it was way down. But the ratings were up, and I think the quantity of viewers they had for Game 6 was more than any game since 2002. Is what I read today.
The president resigning locally, that was kind of a big story. We got some mileage out of the first big event at what's it called, the Al at Allegiant. That the Garth concert was a disaster. So people now are freaking out about parking, at these games because the Garth concert was just ridiculous. So there were some big stories here locally. We have so much.
We talked about that last week, didn't we? About how hard it was to get in and out.
Oh yeah, that it's going to be a mess. This first year is going to be a big test. So, I called every coach today at Mountain West Conference Football Media Day. Coach, I didn't call one of them by their first name.
I always refer to Andy Reid and certainly any super successful coach. And I think every coach that comes on my show, I call them coach. Like they're a doctor, like they've earned this deal. And for the most part, I'm talking to Big 12, SEC, or an NFL coach. And in this case, it's Andy Reid.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Are you getting?
I wish I'd have brought the sound that we played today.
I mean, I have a bite.
Oh, you don't have the sound that we play today. I'm talking about something different. You play the bite so people know what it is.
I don't know if it's going to play. I'll pull it up here in a second.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you had to say.
That's all right. It's all right.
Basically, Deion Sanders, what Steve's getting at, is got pissy because a guy called him Deion, and he immediately shut him down and said, "No, you wouldn't call Nick Saban Nick. So call me Coach." And then the guy's like, "Yeah, I would call him Nick." And he's like, "All right." He goes, "No, you wouldn't." And the guy goes, "Okay, well, Deion."
And then that was it.
And then he got up and walked out.
Do you think the last Deion was necessary?
I don't think it was necessary, but I have not. I think I do a good job of building relationships and then showing respect. And I am one that, like I said, I mentioned, I don't know that I've ever called Andy Reid Andy. I always call him Coach. And so that's the way I do things. But not everybody has to do things the way I do it. And the sound we played today was 9 seconds long and was about 12 guys starting their question to Andy Reid, all calling him Andy.
Oh, really?
And if Andy Reid, who is no worse than the second most accomplished coach, he's certainly the second most accomplished coach, might be the most powerful coach right now because his team is still really good where Bill Belichick's isn't. But he's one of the top 2 coaches in the National Football League. And if he can be called Andy on a regular basis by many people in the media in Kansas City, Deion Sanders can live with Deion.
Thanks, Coach. Okay, let me get Nick. Let me get Nick. Nick's a good guy.
Nick Suss, you're up.
Hey, Deion, was just wondering if you could.
Hold on. Let's back up a little bit. You don't call Nick Saban Nick. Don't call me Deion. Okay.
I call Nick Saban Nick.
You don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. That's a lie. If you call Nick Nick, you know you get cussed out on the spot. So don't do that to me. Treat me like Nick.
Okay, Deion. Just
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is Deion's defense. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And then people were mocking on him the last couple of days of the SEC Media Day, and they were tracking how many times Nick got called Nick, how many different people called him Nick Saban. So
and there were many, right?
There were many.
And Nick Saban didn't walk away, did he?
No,
Again,
but
I wouldn't do it.
But I do think Deion is dealing with. He is dealing with the fact that a lot of people don't think he's a coach. That this is a stunt.
Okay, well, but he's also needs to recognize that while Nick Saban has won 7 national championships, he's coached 7 fucking games.
Right.
Comparing himself to Nick Saban is farcical.
I thought it was
asking for the same respect that a 7-time national championship head coach gets is ridiculous when you're 7 games into it.
You brought up the wrong person as an example, no doubt.
But he's wrong, and he's wrong. Lots of people call him Nick.
He's wrong because a lot of coaches are addressed by their first name. So I don't do it, but
I don't either.
But I mean, I think it's funny at some point, because I'm older than half the coaches now. So I'm, if I'm doing this when I'm like 57, I'm just going to look like some old fart calling 45-year-olds coach.
I don't think so.
But I also think it's a little bit of a sign of respect. And I've told you many times. Coming back, though, you're going to respect me.
I would like to hear the whole press.
And if not, then there might be a problem. We're gonna talk like adults about around the same age range. I'm going to show you some respect, because you are in this position. I'm fine with it.
I mean, don't you think Deion Sanders should have reached out to the guy after the fact and said, "Hey, listen,"
well,
as opposed to right there trying to show him up? Like if somebody,
yes.
Again, if somebody
I also think from the SWAC standpoint, hey, moron. This is gigantic for the SWAC. You're walking off, and you're actually getting people. And I don't know if they were like in the building. It looked like a Zoom call, but to me, that's screwing over the SWAC. It's disrespectful to everyone else there, everyone else involved. Just because this Nick Suss wants to, tweak your titties a little bit, that doesn't mean you cheat everyone else out of the access. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
That stuff drives me nuts. And I won't even get into the Mountain West Conference today. I was just annoyed by coach availability, and it's like, we don't have to be here. Just be a little cooperative. God damn it.
Well, I do believe the Mountain West. I think the Big 12 needs to be cooperative. The SEC is like the Super Bowl. SEC Media Day is they sit and wait for Nick Saban to descend down an escalator with the glow around him. I mean, that's a different animal. It's a different beast than any other league out there because of the importance that the SEC has in its region and nationally. But, so you're in agreement with me. Deion Sanders is out of line.
He mishandled it. I don't like the media guys like final parting Deion one more time. Like now you're just being a dick.
After he's tried to show you up?
Yes. Take the high road.
I'll take the high road once, but if you think, like, if you come at me and you mistake me just taking the high road as a sign of weakness,
right,
then I will ratchet it up. There was a time, now it was behind closed doors, but there was a time where somebody decided they wanted to get loud with me, and I was like, okay, well, I hear you, but this and that, and then they got loud again, and then I said to the person, listen, I was here when you got here, and I will be here when you're gone.
And their reaction?
They backed off.
Not really.
Like I'm nobody's punk. I mean, that's not going to happen. I mean, I'll be polite. I'll do the right things. And I like I said, I think I've always done the right thing. I don't just say something stupid, or I think I ask pertinent questions. I mean, like I got chastised by Andy Reid. And I think Andy Reid was 100% wrong. 100% wrong. This past year, he got mad. It was after the Charger game, and Tyreek Hill took his helmet off. And in the post game, I said, hey, were you worried about getting a personal foul penalty on this? And he's like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't see it, which down on the field, and you can see, and he's going to the next play, or let's get whatever ready. And he doesn't see it. Tyreek Hill took his helmet off. And then it came up again. I asked him a totally different question on Monday. And he goes, yeah, by the way, I was thinking about your question from yesterday, and you were out of line, and you're better than that. Don't ask that question. And I was like, and I was smiling at first because I'm like, oh, he's joking. I'm like, no, he was serious. And I was like, so I just sat there and he answered this question. They move on. Of course, I'm muted. I can't say anything back because it's a Zoom. But had I been in front of him, I'd have been like, okay, well, here's the question I'm asking now. Are you going to answer it? I just ask it again. And if he came at me again a second time, then I would have risen up and said, well, you're out of line, coach.
Right.
I get it. Ask stupid questions.
I get it. And maybe I don't know who this Nick Suss guy is, so maybe he's been dealing with Deion, and he felt like Deion was using him as a prop to try to punk him. So I don't know all the details. I don't know what their relationship is. He seemed to know him. He's like, oh, Nick's a good guy.
Yeah. So, he's like, oh, no, you're a good guy, but don't call me Deion. Like,
no, and Detroit Lenny's in. I don't think he meant it as disrespectful to Deion in the first place. But once Deion makes a case of it, just like Petro said, maybe you can settle everything behind the scenes. So,
I mean, I think the guy, like, had Deion said that, I mean, again, you and I wouldn't be in that situation because we would have called him coach. So me sitting here saying what I would do in that guy's shoes, I wouldn't be in his shoes. I just do it. Here's my thing. They like being called coach. We all know it, right? They do think of it as a doctorate. And they like it, and they want it. So it's no hair off my ass to call a guy coach.
I personally get a kick out of it.
You want to be called Stevie? I'll call you Stevie. Steven, I'll call you Steven. You want to be called? Right. I mean, listen, I'm all out of shits to give. Whatever. Tell me what you want to be called, and I'll call you that. Like when everybody, whether it's ethnic or sexual preference, like, oh God, what do they want to be called today? Who gives a shit? Just tell me what it is and I'll use it. Like, I don't know why it's so hard to change what you call someone. And so for me and you, it's like, do I think they should all have to be called coach? I don't, but I know they like it. And I will show an ounce of respect. And as long as you show me an ounce of respect, then we'll have no problem. So I wouldn't have been in that guy's shoes, but Deion Sanders is out of line because calling somebody by their first name in any walk of life is not disrespectful. I mean, I try to, with team owners, call them, John Sherman, the owner of the Royals. I say, joining us now on the program is John Sherman. Mr. Sherman, how are you? Right?
Yeah.
Does the fact that the man's worth billions of dollars mean that I should have to call him Mr.? Probably not. Probably not. But I do it anyway.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah,
So true.
Petro's horrible with names, so it's easier to call him coach. He's going to forget anyway. Let me tell you, the coaches I did talk to today at the Mountain West Conference Football Media Day, there was a couple times I'm like, am I getting this guy's name right? I always have that fear that I'm calling him, it's Chris. I'm calling him Carl. Oops. Especially guys who are new to the conference. Like, I don't want to fuck this up.
Put up Tom's, because Tom's right. I mean, he's come on and talked about people stealing shit out of his locker at a game. I mean, Deion Sanders is struggling with the fact that he's not. Players always think they're funnier than they are and smarter than they are, because we all have to stand around there and listen to their answers. So they say stupid things, and we still sit there holding the microphone, listening to them. They say something completely moronic, and then we just ask the next question. Right? And so they're like, I can say whatever I want. I decide what the truth is. I decide what reality is. And Deion Sanders is finding that when you have wins and losses next to your name and there are expectations, that people will ask you real questions. And he's not getting the, oh, you're the star treatment anymore. And that's difficult for him to deal with.
Yeah. It happens when they go in the media too. In his case, like, I don't know that he really said anything of substance in all his time at NFL Network, except yell and wear hoods on the videos. So,
I mean,
to get loud. Let's see. Jim Gemma here in Vegas, who's the PR guy, media guy for the Aviators, our AAA team, says, was there a good media turnout today for Mountain West Conference Media Day? Yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I didn't see how many print people were there, but maybe 8 radio stations. So I did notice San Diego didn't show up, that's not good. San Diego didn't have a station out, but radio station.
But you're telling me they should be in the Pac-12 because San Diego really cares.
Dude, I have no idea the financials down at that station at Extra. I don't know what the deal is. They do cover San Diego State pretty heavily. So I don't know what went into the decision. Like, we're not going to be there tomorrow. Tomorrow's Players Day. Well, we have a Thursday show that we sold for all of 2021. I can't get out of it. So. And I'm not that fired up to talk to players, honestly. So,
no, talking to college players sucks.
We talked to a lot of coaches today, and have some coaches in the can that we're going to play the rest of the week. But there's too many big stories going on right now for me to be talking Mountain West Conference football on Thursday and Friday. So, got to break down the expansion draft in the NHL.
How did it go? I almost watched it.
I didn't watch. It wasn't really a draft, but based on this fact that. I don't know, 80% of the picks were leaked 7 hours before. They have their 3 Schefter Glazer guys, and Pierre LeBrun and Frank Saravelli and one other guy. It's like, from what I'm hearing, this is the pick. Like, all right, well, what's the point of watching now? The big drama, the great drama going in was, did Montreal completely fuck up and expose Carey Price, one of the great goaltenders, and helped him get to the Stanley Cup final? That would have been awesome if the Kraken had taken this legendary Montreal player who still has like 3 or 4 years left on a 10-a-year contract. That would have been great. But like early in the morning, they're not taking Carey Price. If I were ESPN, I'd be like, Bettman, Christ.
Well, that's the thing.
This is why we left you years ago and didn't cover you. This stupid shit like this. Come on. So dumb. Sorry. Mini rant with Gare and the NHL.
You're good.
I'm trying, man. I want to get into the NHL more and more and more. It's a big deal here. So.
They got the same rules that Vegas did. I bet they don't have the same results.
No, you know what? Ron Francis, who's running the team, admitted he's like, no one would do anything. There were no trades, nothing. They all panicked at the unknown and handed Vegas picks and players, and here's, to protect certain guys. And this time, I think every team was like, hey, you know what? This is the person who's exposed, or these are the persons. If you take him, you take him. We'll adjust. We're not going to give up a few draft picks and, take this guy, don't take this guy. So they learned.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Interesting, though, the total, first of all, you could get, if I'm correct, I think you could get was it 500 to 1 for the Vegas audience? I think it was 500 to 1. I have it in my notes. That first year, you get VGK 500 to 1 to win the Stanley Cup. The Kraken are 50. They're 50 to 1. And the total, I believe, was high 60s for VGK. Point total, it's in the 90s.
Wow.
Golden Knights' first season, they actually had 93 points, and then made the run to the Stanley Cup final. Bet Rivers, one of the books out there, not here, but in other markets, they have the Kraken over-under point total at 94.5.
Good Lord.
So we'll see. And I agree with the market match and the name itself. I think is brilliant. A lot of people hate it. I love the logo. I love the freaking S letters.
Who hates it?
Oh,
Do you have a speaker on, by the way?
No. Nope. Nothing on. You know what? Fans of the NHL are so lame. The traditionalists, it's just like new stuff comes along and they want to hate on it. And so Seattle's going to be a really good market. You and I have talked about this. They love soccer. There's going to be a niche crowd that'll show up, and they'll have fan clubs, and they'll be lunatics. So it's good for Seattle.
I think it's great.
And it's good for the NHL, and it should further kick everyone in the ass around the NHL who's not winning. The traditional markets that don't win, watching Tampa win every year, and Canada hasn't won a Stanley Cup since 93, 94, the entire country. So
yeah, no, listen, I think it's going to be huge. I think the name, the logo's great. I think the market will go crazy, and I think it was really smart for the NHL to get in there before the NBA got back in there.
Well, it turns out it was smart to get in here, right, in Vegas before the NBA came here.
Yeah, and I think they may have walled the NBA out.
Baseball might get here before that. The A's had their Oakland had their vote yesterday, so they voted to move forward. But the A's were like, "You voted on a different term sheet than we offered, so your yes is really a no. We don't know what you're doing." And then today, after they voted yesterday, 6-1-1 to keep moving forward. A's owner and the president was back here again, meeting with Vegas people. So, like that to me, that does not sound like we're being used as a negotiating pawn. Like the next day, like let's start moving on this one.
Yeah, maybe it's just to put immediate pressure and saying you didn't do enough.
They've been here 5 times. They've looked at
I agree. Every time they go there is a better sign for Vegas.
Right. I mean, I'm cynical because they should not leave Oakland, and the project they're talking about sounds tremendous. You don't leave that kind of market with San Jose right there and all that population in the Bay Area. You don't leave for Vegas, but it is interesting. They were meeting I think it's today and tomorrow. They might be meeting with multiple people, but they were meeting with a guy named Phil Ruffin, who's a billionaire, but he owns a TI. He just bought Circus Circus for a song and a dance. So he owns all the land around Circus Circus. He also there's land right up on the corner of LV Boulevard and Sahara, across from the Sahara, that has been used as like concert grounds. And they're talking about that land potentially for a stadium at the north end of the strip. So, and let me tell you, Phil Ruffin wants to make a deal because he's like 83 years old. So,
and you and I both know there's plenty of land that's not being used for anything super productive near the strip. Like that's one thing Vegas has going for it.
There's still land on the strip.
Yeah, I mean that absolutely.
The other parcel is there used to be a Wet and Wild big water park. That's right down the road. Well, there's a guy who's been working on that one. This guy Jackie Robinson, who's a former UNLV basketball player, and he's got Chinese investors, and I think he has Comcast behind him now. And he's been working on a 20,000 seat arena. They first put shovels in the ground in 2014, and he's like, "We're doing it again in October." So that's supposed to be a 20,000 seat arena, 2,500 room hotel, 400,000 square feet of like retail and convention, a 3,000 seat theater, like right down the road where this guy Ruffin is potentially pitching the baseball stadium. So I don't know. I feel like we're going to be at a breaking point at some point. We're going to have like 7 arenas that hold more than 9,000, like 8 theaters that hold more than 3,000. It's craziness.
So one of the things I said off the A's thing, what I said yesterday was, look, notice the price tag on what we're talking about here, $12 billion.
Yep.
Right, $12 billion.
See,
right?
that one.
Well, because it used to be like the teams wanted you to build them a stadium. Then it was build them a stadium and all the infrastructure to get there and everything that goes with it.
Right.
And then give them the rights to the stadium to, like, any event that's there, they make money off of it. Now the thing is, it's all of that and give them the land around it, like the Warriors got, so that they can become real estate, landlords.
Well, the A's,
that's going on around it.
And the A's want 2 special tax districts set up. One at Howard Terminal, and then I don't know where the other one is. I think it might be the redevelopment of the Coliseum. They want that too.
Yeah,
So-
and that's what towns are having to do. Which, by the way, is that capitalism? Having the government fund everything for you, or is that socialism?
I know.
The people that bitch the most about socialism are the ones that are the biggest socialists.
Who got the most free money?
Mhm.
Right. The most partnerships where they get freaking gifts hand over foot.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. We should get the entire NCAA basketball
It
tournament.
may happen one day.
They've talked about having, I don't know if it's maybe the Sweet 16 on down for the women. They were going to try that out, where they do like a couple of weekends here, which would be so much better than their dinky regionals.
I agree.
So there are no limits to what we can host.
No, and I think Vegas should keep doing it. I mean, I think it's smart to become the destination place for events.
Yep. Well, we had some people nipping at our heels, Dallas and then Orlando, and they were trying to steal NFR, the finals rodeo, which is big in December. So
If
now we're
NFR ever left Vegas, I mean, Vegas can't just piss it away. But
No.
if they ever left Vegas, that'd be ridiculous. If people haven't been out there in December when the rodeo's out there, it's a cool time.
Dude, but think about how much the market's changed. December, that was it. Like they had the town, for a good portion of December. Now we're gonna have multiple NFL games, freaking NHL, some college sports going on. Actually, that's the other thing. We're a big host for regular season tournaments in college basketball. We've got Gonzaga Duke is already sold out at T-Mobile. They've got North Carolina, Ohio State, Kentucky, and UCLA here for another mini tournament at T-Mobile. Texas Stanford might be at T-Mobile, and there's a fourth matchup. Oh, there's a tournament with UNLV, Michigan, Wichita, and crap, I'm blanking on the fourth school. So
Yeah, I mean, and that's what they should keep doing. The more things that are going on, the better.
I think we have 6 conference tournaments now because the Big West is going to move here and play in the minor league arena. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention the 6,000 or 7,000 seat arena for the minor league VGK team. That one's in Henderson.
Oh, their minor league team is there. Their AHL.
Where Green Valley Ranch is, there's a Henderson Silver Knights, not the Golden Knights, the Silver Knights.
That's awesome.
Yes, and then there's a Arena Football League team coming in that arena, which I think will be something Knights, and we also have a professional lacrosse team coming here.
Indoor lacrosse, I guess, or outdoor.
Indoor lacrosse.
Okay.
Holy shit! Please don't run out of water.
Yeah, that's happening, isn't it?
Lake Mead's not looking good of late, so
it was horrible when I brought the kids out there and we went to the dam.
Yep.
It looked terrible. And what has that been? When was I out there with the kids? 6, 7 years ago?
Yep.
I mean, and it looked terrible then.
Our lacrosse team is owned by Gretzky, Steve Nash, Joe Tsai, and maybe there's one other celebrity. So I have to get. I will get a lacrosse expert on in the next couple of weeks. I know the audience wants it. So.
By the way, listen, lacrosse is coming.
Oh, I know.
Because
I'm gonna get someone on. So
I like lacrosse. I haven't gone to Syracuse and everything, but lacrosse is now all the high schools around here are starting to play it. My nephew plays it, and here's the thing: everyone kind of laughs at those niche sports. I don't know what the Cerner guys, which is now Cliff Illig. He's I think the sole owner for sport, or the principal owner for Sporting Kansas City. He and Neil Patterson, who were the founders of Cerner, bought Sporting Kansas City together. When Neil Patterson passed away, I believe Cliff Illig bought out the Patterson family to own it, and they bought Sporting Kansas City, then the Kansas City Wizards, away from the Hunt family, the Lamar Hunt's family. And Hunt at that time owned the Dallas Burn, Kansas City Wizards, and the Columbus Crew. Because at one point, I think they were down to 10 teams, or maybe it was 8 teams, and there were only 3 owners. Bob Kraft owned the New England Revolution. The Hunts owned their 3 teams, and then Anschutz owned like 6 of them. Right? And so so like, and everyone was like, they actually had a meeting in the Lamar Hunt book. There's he details the conversation that those 3 guys getting together, Lamar Hunt Sr., and talking about what is the future for soccer. And they considered shutting it down. I think the LAFC is worth over $1 billion, or it's like $950 million. Sporting Kansas City is worth $550 million right now. The average value of an MLS team is $550 million right now.
Does the league make money? Because we keep hearing that it's just a pyramid scheme that just you make money because they keep expanding.
Well, first of all, like, I thought there was an interesting conversation Bill Maher had on. I can't remember who it was. It was a buddy of his on his show, and I did not realize this. Did you know that Bill Maher was one of the minority owners of the Mets?
No.
So he bought in probably for, somewhere between $1 and $10 million, I would guess, right? Like, I don't think he owned 10%. I think he owned like 1%, maybe, right? Yeah. And he bought in, and somehow they got to talking about sports ownership. And the guy goes, "Well, I mean, you know what it is to own a sports team." He goes, "Oh yeah." He goes, "It's like some of the lowest lows and highest highs." He's like, "Well, what do you mean?" And Mars said, "Look, you buy the team and it's great. They give you some tickets, you go, and you think it's awesome." He goes, "But then they have cash calls." And I had the first one, and then I had the second one, and I was like, "What the hell am I doing? Is this the worst investment I've ever made?" He goes, "Yeah, but then you sold the team." He goes, "Oh, I sold the team." He goes, "Holy shit, it's raining money." Right? So when you're owning, like I said this the other day, I said, owning a professional sports team is not the ATM machine that everybody thinks it is. Like, if you're the principal owner, you can draw salary for making the decisions and all that kind of thing, but you're not pulling cash out. But what it is a license to build wealth.
Right.
Kansas City Royals were bought for $96 million and like 16, 18 years later sold for $1 billion. I mean, that's what it is. So, like, sporting, like, are they year over year showing massive profits? No. But are they building the value of the league? The quality of soccer in the league has risen immensely. They're a much bigger player on a global scale, and the values of all their franchises are skyrocketing. So, no. Are they all taking home $700 million every year? No. But have they taken something that was valued in the single millions of dollars to hundreds of millions? Yes, they have. It was Bob Costas. That's right. Thank you.
I'll have to watch. Yeah. Was Costas good or annoying as always?
The only takeaway I have from that segment is Bill Maher talking about being one of the owners of the Mets and just talking about how he was like, "Holy shit, like, am I going to have any money left?" And then getting the big payoff when they just sold. So I thought that was interesting. That was my big takeaway. I think my recollection was it was fairly interesting.
Did you we got to close on this, some lighter notes. Did you celebrate? Jed's very good on Twitter, your producer, and Ari tries to do this too, on the National Food Days. They share a brain on this one. And there's always fun. Did you guys celebrate National Hot Dog Day in any way? Did you?
We did. We mentioned it.
You love pitching. Is it the beef hot dogs at Costco? You're like gaga.
The Costco all beef hot dogs. Those are the hot dogs I get. They come like that. It's like, I think 14 of them in a pack. They're great.
Nice.
Like, they're really good hot dogs, and they're the hot dogs they serve at the, like, if you want to go buy a hot dog, I think it's like a couple of bucks and you get a hot dog and a soda. But I will tell you that I went somewhere and got a hot dog it was like National Hot Dog Day. My wife and daughter were driving up to pick up my other daughter at camp about an hour away. And so I was on my own for dinner, and I'm like, it's National Hot Dog Day. I'm doing low carb. I'll go get a couple of hot dogs somewhere, no bun, and be happy. And where I went and got the hot dogs, they sucked. It pissed me off. Because I can't go get something else satisfying. Like, what I eat, I want to be satisfying. I'm a fatty, so I like to enjoy what I eat, and these sucked.
Chain or local joint?
I'm not even going to begin to answer any questions. I have no affiliation whatsoever with the place. It was just convenient, and I'm like, I'll do this real quick because I got to get home and get some work done. But yeah, I was very disappointed. Like, you can screw up a hot dog.
How?
Because I don't know how you make a good hot dog. So I don't know how you make a bad hot dog. But shitty hot dogs suck.
Brady trying to pull it out of you. Rhymes with Detroit. Lenny, same thing. Sounds like.
I'm not going there.
Well, I'll tell you, folks in Vegas, meet up. Vegas hot dogs. Oh boy, they're good.
Really?
Oh yeah, I got some big beefy ones. They're good. I might make one tonight as a late night snack. Although, nope, no late night snacks. Trying to cut weight, Petro.
Are you really? How's it going?
It's all right.
Okay.
I'm not doing much in terms of exercise, so.
Okay.
And my trip to California was a disaster, so.
Yeah.
We'll see. Okay. We'll see what happens. Oh man, Nick's getting all worried. Please say it was not a quick trip dog.
Why does he like or dislike the quick trip dog?
I don't know. He's also asking if Gruden is on the hot seat if he doesn't make the playoffs this year. No. I would say one more year. If there's like a couple of disastrous years, then he's in trouble. But right now, Mark Davis doesn't have a president, so that's not a good thing. There's a lot of business to be taken care of, and Mark's not exactly super business guy. So the last thing he's going to do is throw in the towel on Gruden. It's almost there, baby. It's almost there. They're on the ascent, I think. Nick says quick trip, good dog. Quality.
Dog, right? I'll have to go. I love hot dogs, but I don't eat a lot of hot dogs.
I love hot dogs.
Oh, they're fantastic.
Yes. But you're right, the whole bun thing, if you're trying to cut a little weight, what are you going to do? You got to do it at some point. You can't be a chubby fat ass forever.
You can.
And that's me looking in the mirror. I don't know if you can.
You can. Sure you can.
Andy Reid's rolling the dice every day.
Well, I'm not saying there aren't consequences that come with it. But you can do it.
Well, just depends on what you're looking for in terms of quality of life later. I don't see a lot of gigantic fat guys in their 70s.
Well, that's accurate.
Yeah. I mean, you had the line years ago about Bill Bidwell, and I kind of took that to heart. So I figured there's kind of a cutoff.
The only guy that ever moved to the desert and got fat.
Got fat. Well,
usually when I moved to the desert, I got thin.
Did you get thinner?
I did. Yeah. You remember when I got out there?
Yeah. Progressively.
I got like 50, 60 pounds.
Yeah. What is this one? Oh, Mark's guy. No, I don't think it's a Gruden Mark Bedane war or something like that. Nah. They have different jobs.
Gas station dogs like rolling the dice at 4 a.m. on a Tuesday night.
But they're so good, though.
Are they? I won't buy a hot dog at a gas station.
I've told the stories on the air, and it blows people away. What, like in my 20s and 30s, just driving around, covering stuff from game to game, and the fast food. I actually pulled one the other day, and I don't drink a lot of soda now, but for some reason I had like 15 minutes to kill before I picked someone up on the strip. And I went to a 7-Eleven, which, by the way, for Vegas folks, Jesus Christ, the 7-Eleven at Trop and Decatur, I think I was just at a special moment. I walked in and I was like, and I actually I had my mask on, and I looked around, and I'm like, this is why I have the mask on. It was like cavalcade of freaking just slovenly folks who were struggling, if I can put it nicely. But for some reason, I was like, yeah, let me get a big gulp of Mountain Dew. And let me chase it with some what did I get? Some honey roasted peanuts. And I chugged the peanuts as a little snack, and then I got through like a third of the Mountain Dew. I didn't finish the rest of it. So, but that Mountain, the big jug of Mountain Dew, like for 20 years I did that. And 7-Eleven food, the freaking, not the pizza, but taquitos and just the pudding pies, and I was a machine. Dude, I was a machine. Every time I tell these stories, everyone else on the show is like, holy shit. Like the sugar intake.
Pudding pies?
Yeah, the Hostess pudding pies. It was either you could get the vanilla or the chocolate, or I used to get the fruit pies all the time, the Hostess fruit pies. Yep. And go driving to like a high school game at like 24, covering a high school game and just drinking, I didn't have the Camaro at the time, but it would have been perfect. Just if I could just see what I was going to look like 60 pounds later after doing that for 15 years. There you go. Yep. Big gulps. See you later.
See you later. I like that one.
Yep. Oh, the snack cakes and everything else.
The Monterey Jack chicken taquito is a bomb.
It is, Chris. You know it's not. I mean, it's yummy, but you know it's eating away your insides. It really is. Yeah, I know. Detroit. Lenny's a big guy. You know, Lenny knows the freaking big gulps full of dew got me. You know, through working midnights for 5 years. I know. But I mean, it was just when you have that with something else that's super sugary, it's just unreal.
Yeah. Listen,
What if?
I never got the taste for Mountain Dew, but I've drank way too many Diet Cokes.
Yeah. We got into something on the air today. I had no idea you could even do this. People doing like half and half drinks at the drive-through. Like a JVT was telling me like a lemonade and a Sprite, and I'm like, I didn't know you could do that. Like
really?
I don't think I've ever had a half and half drink. Yeah, it's like
I'll do a can of Diet Coke and a can of Coke Zero. That's my idea of half and half.
yeah. I see those anything cooking on those rollers, I'm in. Fucking chicken leg.
What could go wrong? What could go wrong?
Uh,
Food rolling on electric heat that's exposed to everybody who walks by. What could possibly go wrong?
That's why I love QT. I walk in, Quick Trip's got like a bank of like 7 of them.
Mhm.
I just every time I come see you, I stand in front of them just like, oh my God. And then there's like the hot dogs is like, oh, there's warm buns in here. You get your own buns.
Cofield walks into the QT, walks up to the rollers.
But most times when I'm there, I do just get, you get on me about the coffee, so I just get the friggin' giant jug of coffee with like half creamer, half coffee.
You have to go to QT for coffee though.
Because I love the creamer. I don't really like coffee that much. I just love the sweet creamer.
JB will go one place and get coffee, and then you're like, "Hey, can I get the keys? I gotta go get coffee."
I actually did.
We just went and got.
I want McDonald's coffee. They don't have the creamer. We could just go grocery shopping. I'll get a creamer at the store, and then I can just I'll just have my own creamer.
My wife has coffee here at the house.
Does she have the creamer?
I mean, tell me what creamer you want, and
you do ask every time, and almost every time I'm like, I don't need anything.
Chuck now buys the coffee my wife has. He thinks it's the greatest coffee in the world.
Right.
Yeah. What it is, I don't know because I don't drink coffee, but
this is funny. Buffets have gone away, but the rollers survived. That's safe.
No, but no safer than the buffet. But
believe me, based on some of the people I see at buffets are expensive here.
They are. They're ridiculous.
There's no $34 entry fee to get to a 7-Eleven and get your hands all over the rollers. Oh God, I sound so snobby, and yet I'm not. But
do you remember when we used to do, like when I got in shape, moving to Vegas? Like every Sunday, I would like be hardcore strict, everything, and then Sunday I would not eat all day, and then we would hit a different buffet every Sunday
for hours.
Oh my God, we would crush it.
Yeah.
Those were good times.
But this is like this stuff, because one of the places I like to go to, and people are going to laugh in Vegas, but like the Fiesta up on Rancho.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
And it was like $12, and they had prime rib and whatever, all the junky buffet food.
They had the best lo mein.
Oh, really?
Like, don't you remember? I'd get like 2 plates just piled high because I would like eat nothing all week, work out. Yeah, we were single, so you didn't have anything you had to do. And then on Sunday, I would consume like 5,000 calories.
Yeah.
I love the lo mein. I love the texture of the lo mein. Like it was kind of sticky. It would kind of stick together. So you get a fork. It'd be this big wad, and you just jam the whole thing in your mouth. And you had it was almost like a wad. It's like having like Big League Chew when you're a kid. Like it's not really that you want that much gum. It just feels good to have that much gum. Like that wad of lo mein. Oh, it was the best.
Dude, one of the bad things that's happened here is that a lot of the Station Casino properties haven't reopened. Like the Palms sold. Palms is still not open. It hasn't been open since everything closed down, last March.
Right.
And they sold it to San Manuel out of California, so they're waiting for approval. But Stations also owns the Fiesta and Texas Station. And one of my favorite places to watch football is Texas Station because they generally have $1 or $2 beer specials, and I think the shots are $5. And they have a buffet there, and I can get The SO is not a big buffet fan, but I can get her to go like once or twice to the buffet, and I'm like, this is heaven. It's like $13 because now this is what we have here in Vegas with Win Buffet.
$68. I would never pay $68.
The Bacchanal at Caesars, $63. I mean, everywhere now is north of $30. It's a buffet. That was the whole point. That's supposed to be cheap.
Well, it used to be, it was a lost leader. They thought they needed to have you get there and then go lose money on the tables. But now people, they don't even try to make money at gambling anymore. They make money off partying.
Was the WAD a lo mein reference? Did you call the lo mein a WAD?
Yeah, like you get the fork in there and it all sticks together, and how would you describe it? A baseball of lo mein?
Did I already use the word gaggle? A gaggle of lo mein?
I don't know.
I think I used it once before.
A flock?
That doesn't sound that tasty.
I'm sorry I used the wrong word, but
it's all right. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. We appreciate you guys coming in. Anything? What's going on the rest of the week for you for shows and?
Jeff Passan's gonna come in studio, so his phone won't suck tomorrow. So we're excited about that. He lives here in KC, so he's gonna actually.
Is he one of your worst phone guys in terms of phone quality?
The last 2 weeks, his phone has sucked.
Yep, we have several guys. I'm like, I'm not doing the phone anymore. That's it. We got to find different ways to do it. His phone sucks.
Yeah, the phone has sucked, but always great content, a great conversation with him.
He went at Stephen A. Smith.
I know. We talked about it last week. Put Stephen A. in his place. So we'll have Passan on tomorrow. We'll have Blair Kirchhoff on tomorrow, who's covered college sports in this town forever. And so we'll talk a lot about the UT, OU, where they're going, what it means, will it happen, all that kind of stuff tomorrow. So looking forward to that. And then I have one more 4-day week after that, and then I'm finally going to take a vacation.
Nice.
I really just was on vacation like 6-7 weeks ago, but
this is the time to take it. I will have a bunch of Mountain West Conference football coaches on live. That'll be on Thursday, Friday, live.
What was that look all about?
I wanted people to see my eyes that I was telling the truth. Live, looking at my eyes.
So they're not live.
Well, we taped.
They were all recorded today.
Yeah, but I will mention that hey, we had a conversation about this. Worst right now, and I love the guy, but Koken's phone is jacked up. So I don't know if there's cat fur on the phone or what's going on. By the way, Koken got a new cat, so that's really we're going to talk about that a lot tomorrow, Friday, on the DC and the Sunshine Man podcast. He's got a cat, got a new cat. So
by the way, are you covering the Raiders?
What does that mean?
Well, because I'm asking because of one of the questions there about I take my COVID test tomorrow at 12:45. I was told that the Chiefs were going to have the COVID test and we were all going to come out on Friday. And then all of a sudden an email comes out and goes, nope, you're on your own.
What does that mean?
Well, I just had to find a place to get tested.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah. I mean, so it was like, oh, okay. So, Scout's honor, I guess. We're really taking it serious. Wait, don't you think you'd want to control the results if you were really doing everything you could to protect the players?
Exactly. I say this off the air many times when cell phones crap out, that cell phones are killing sports talk radio for interviews. So we try to do landlines or like clean feed or other methods, but there are a lot of cell phones that are bad, really bad.
Yeah,
it's not good. And your question about the Raiders, no, I'm not going to cover them on a day-to-day basis. So, and I'm not sure how it works. I know they're being really stringent. And we talked about this already. If you're not vaccinated, you are not allowed in the Raiders facility. So, is
training camp open to the public?
I don't know. I don't think so.
It is here. They're not doing the autograph sessions.
Someone correct me on that one, but I don't know that the Henderson facility is open to fans. I'm not sure. Maybe a couple of events here and there. I'm not sure.
Okay,
that's Adam Hill deal. He's on the show tomorrow. I'll ask him.
Well, Springfield is a COVID fire. As is St. Joe, where the Chiefs training camp is. So why wouldn't we have people, Sam McDowell, I think, said that the vaccination rate in St. Joseph, Missouri is 18%.
Shut up. Really?
We said today.
Oh, wow. You know the big deal here, right? Have you talked to JB, our dealer friend?
No.
Service people here, mask back on as of tomorrow.
Well, I put mine back on. I enjoyed like 4 weeks of not wearing a mask. Now everywhere I go,
Yep,
I put it on.
Well, I live with someone who's in the service industry. She was not happy, so I listened to her for about 20 minutes this morning, and she never rants and raves, but she did this morning. Not happy. And Brady, I know you say this all the time, and I don't want to make a misstatement here, but your wife is a nurse, so Brady's always sending us updates. He said 80 plus people in chairs in ER hallways in Vegas waiting for a room. So, and was there a story out of Alabama today where there was a nurse or a doctor, there are a bunch of people who are sick, and they're like, can we get the vaccine now? And, they have COVID. They're like, it's too late. Like, you can't get it now. So people saying, I thought it was a hoax. Like, I mean, I don't. It's like I feel mean. I feel Oh, by the way, one of the updates, and I don't know, has the Big 12 announced this yet? One of the updates from the Mountain West Conference is there will be no postponed games. If you don't have enough players to play football, it's a forfeit. You lose.
Well, I know that's how the SEC is doing it. And that's why Kirby Smart, whose team's already at 85%, said that's not enough because he's not planning on losing games because some guys didn't get the shots.
Right. I loved it. The UNLV coach told me, and they were a disaster last year. They only played 6 games, had multiple games canceled. He said his team's above 85%. The conference commissioner said 7 of the 12 teams are above 85%. So,
and which I will point out that it doesn't mean you can't still get COVID.
Of course.
And if you get it, you can't play. It just minimizes every element of it. It minimizes your, contagiousness. It minimizes how sick you will get. It keeps you out of the hospital from dying.
The answer to this is yes. Just like Ohio State got the break from the Big Ten, if Alabama is a mess, then something will change. But I like the tough talk now. Again, it's just like the NFL. We're not forcing you to get it, but hey, these are the repercussions. It's real life.
Well, I mean, I think that the key is it's like cigarettes. Hey, you can smoke, but we're going to tax the crap out of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, where is it? Was it, who was doing the thing like, oh yeah, I mean, you can't come to a concert unless you have vaccination proof.
Right.
And people are like, well, that's against the law. No, it's actually not. It's a private business that can have whatever rules it wants. You're not being deported or jailed.
You see
Therefore,
that
no American laws are being broken.
Eric Clapton said if he is working a show and they require proof of vaccination, he will not perform. So, hey, it's his choice.
Who's waiting for 90-year-old Eric Clapton anyway?
I don't know. I guess
I saw Eric Clapton in Syracuse at the Carrier Dome in 1991. I mean, how old is Eric Clapton now? Is he 80?
Probably. One other update from the Pac-12. Next week, they have their football media days. Nick Rolovich, the Washington State coach, will not be there. Everyone at the Pac-12 media days, everyone has to be vaccinated. Nick Rolovich is not vaccinated. He says he's not going to get vaccinated, and it's his choice, and he's not answering questions about it. So there you go. So over-under win total for Washington State is 6.
Under. I'll take the under.
Yep. Take the under. So,
by the way, I got to be sending you our buddy Sean just left town. He had a trade show he was out there for, and he was going to put in my football bets, and I didn't get him to him. So he block out some time. You got to go put my football futures in.
All right.
Get your mask. Waddle into the casino, fat ass.
Waddle. I got my scooter. All right.